All right, here we go.
We're back. By non-popular demand, we're back.
By 3 people asking us to make a follow-up.
No preparation either.
Yeah.
We're just see where this goes.
I'm Johnny Brask. This is Seamus Harvey. We spoke last week in a kind of a shorter form podcast on what the SDR role is, specifically Seamus's experience with it. A lot of the questions that we got, again, that was about 3 to 5 questions, was what is the SDR role? So we want to spend 10 to 20 minutes here talking about what the SDR role is and kind of where it fits into sales in general. We're going to try to put together like spur of the moment, like analogy for what it is, because we haven't really put together anything here.
Try.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about copywriting. We talked about what else? Just a lot of like your experience in like insurance, my experience with tech, what I'm doing now with the Sprint Page agency. But yeah, I think we should spend some time getting deeper into like what sales development is. And it does look different throughout different organizations and kind of like size of company, whatever. But to put it simply, I think the SDR, the sales development rep, a key word in the title is development. And bare bones, an SDR finds and like sources brand new deals that have nothing to them. They're non-existent and they're just a thought for companies. So if Seamus had a business, right, Seamus LLC, and he sells Tommy Hilfiger coats, and he wants to sell coats to 100 different people in the Minneapolis area, but they don't know who Seamus is, the Seamus LLC. He would hire an SDR and give that SDR the list of 100 people and say, sell me these coats. This is a really bad analogy.
But call these people, tell them who we are.
So the SDR essentially
try to generate interest, generate demand, and see if you can get someone to at least agree to learn more about it.
Completely cold too. And that's kind of the premise of sales development, is you're trying to open up a deal that has nothing, bring it into fruition, and then in most organizations and in most roles, the SDR helps push deals along.
So you'll have like an account rep or an account exec above you, and you are doing the groundwork to get them the beginnings of a deal. So you try to warm up the lead as much as possible and give them a head start. In a lot of cases I try to make introductions too on my calls that I set up, just at least kind of bridge the gap. And then they'll take it from there, and hopefully it ends up closing. That's just basically the extent of the job. It's nothing glamorous, it's nothing too complex. Basically you're just using your people skills, your curiosity, your work ethic to connect with as many people as you can and at least get them interested enough to learn more. That's really all you're doing from that perspective. So I think at least from what, I've been an SDR for like 9 months. That's what I've gathered from it. I'm sure there's people who might have more to say on it. That's at least how I would describe it.
I think a good thing you said is warming up leads and warming up accounts, because I think a common term people hear in the world of sales development is like cold outreach, cold email, cold calling. Definitely cold calling. I feel like a lot of people have heard that. And Seamus and I used a lot of words and abbreviations that probably went like right over people's heads. I know they went over my head like a year ago. So it's a very key component of the sales development role, is like warming up accounts, warming up contacts, and being that person that goes out and is like the forefront of like deal sourcing and deal progression. So like if Seamus were an account executive, which is somebody who like owns a territory or owns accounts for a company, and I was his SDR, that account executive would like own that book of business and be in charge of closing the business and negotiating and taking the back half of the sales cycle. But that SDR is the one that's responsible for even just starting the conversations. It's like a very I would say it's a very like outspoken role in a lot of companies. The last company I was at like was very good to their SDRs, understood like how important they were in the grand scheme of things, and like it's very interesting to look at the amount of pipeline pushed by SDRs. You know, it's usually in the millions of dollars, because it's a role where if you just keep showing up and if you just keep doing your job, eventually like a big deal will come through.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of SDRs like it's very easy to quit early on, but if you stick with it for like a year or two, like you will eventually. If you like you show up and you try to work hard and get better, like you will eventually see some really big deals that come in and can close for like in the millions of dollars for companies, and that's an amazing experience to have as like an entry level person in any role. So it's a really cool position, especially if you can get behind like a cool company. But yeah, I think that's a good explanation.
I think so.
I think so too.
I love how this one was like talking to the camera.
I don't even know if
it's
they
a
can.
little bit different.
Probably can't.
Yeah, you guys can hear this. One thing that someone asked, well, first of all, someone said, but the last one, they liked it, but they're like, yeah, you got a good face for radio. Great joke.
Yeah, I told him wearing a hat now. I got it.
She has a great joke.
I said I was cut like a tennis ball. Just got like text messages with the tennis ball emoji. But
At least I have a good face first.
yeah.
I got too much face. There better be less face. A lot of face. But yeah, someone else was like, someone else said, like, yeah, you never really gave a verdict on like the insurance internship. Like, would you recommend that? And I would say yes, I would. I don't think I kind of showed it as much love as I should have. I really do appreciate having that experience. Like I said, it is where you're going to get those foundational pieces to outreach and selling and being persuasive and connecting with people on the phone. And what's cool about it too is, if you're at an insurance agency, that's going to be a small business. Like I work with 4 other people. So you're a very tight-knit community. Everyone learns from each other constantly. Everyone pushes each other constantly. And it's a place where you can learn a lot in a short amount of time and actually make a lot of progress. End up achieving a lot. And I actually learned, one thing that you would learn too is closing a deal from start to finish. That's one thing you don't get with B2B. In insurance, you could close a new business in a 15-minute phone call just for catching someone at the right time who needs to switch insurance, or you caught them with a great deal or something like that. So I don't want to, besmudge the insurance route at all. The insurance part of it wasn't for me, but I definitely recommend, if you are looking to dip your toes in an SDR role and being in sales, that's not a bad place to start out at all. So.
I think that's such a cool part of the sales role is like you said, if you catch someone at the right time, like you could just close like a big deal like right there.
Yeah.
Some would call that luck, but really it is just repetition and just just continue to make those calls and everything. And you see so much of that in the SDR role. Like the people that make the most, quality. I'm not a big fan of like obsessing over the number of calls or the number of emails, rather like the quality of calls, like percentage-wise that you're making, and like warming up leads through good email, through good outreach. Like LinkedIn organic is great. I love LinkedIn. I'm a huge evangelist for LinkedIn, obviously, but I think like that's such an attractive and fun thing about sales. And when people think about sales, like they think of like the bullpen and like people calling and like picking up the phone. Like it's really not that glorious. Like up at a higher level, like you're much more like it's very it's like, well, when you're like a majors account executive or like a global director of accounts, like you have a quota to hit. You need people to be buying. But like as an SDR, like it's very fun to like all you do is call and call. And like once a week at least, like you'll probably source like a pretty cool deal, or at least you get to like work on a part of a cool deal, and like you'll get that credit. And like if you're a young person, like it's a great thing to be able like to speak on and like achieve early on in your career. And it really just does come through repetition. But I think as from like an analogy standpoint for like what the SDR is, because I was thinking of like 2 words that come like that people use when they talk about sales development, and that's like evangelist and like a campaigner. I took a personality test and I got campaigner. So that's kind of
What does that really mean?
like a campaigner is somebody that, like if you're running for mayor and I'm your campaigner, it's your job to run and like show people this is what I'm going to do for the city of Minneapolis.
Yep. But you're doing that for a company.
Yeah. So like, but for the sake of the analogy, like you're running for mayor of Minneapolis and I'm your campaigner. I just understand exactly what you're going to do and why people should want to vote for Seamus. And then I go out in the streets and I campaign for you and I go door to door. Like there's door to door sales.
So you would if I ran?
No, absolutely not. But I wouldn't. Actually, I would.
Make a lot of money.
I would. Yeah, we could do some backdoor shady stuff. But
that's the only way to do it these days. Got it. Gotta get shady.
Dude, you threw me off. I was in the middle of it. But anyway, so for the sake of the analogy, Seamus is running for mayor, and I'm his campaigner. In this situation, the campaigner is the SDR. An SDR is essentially, like an evangelist. Like a company hires an SDR to get their name out there, but not do the I see marketing as like your marketing should be like your best sales rep at scale in the sense of like marketing sells the company through like organic reach and like LinkedIn carousels and like solid copywriting that's going to capture people. Like sales reps are like doing that exact job, like marketing, but like personally, and like getting in people's inboxes, getting in people's DMs, cold calling people.
All of it.
Yeah, just like by any means necessary. Like I have set a meeting with a guy through accidentally calling his wife. Like I got his what I thought was his number from a tool called Zoom Info. Shout out to Zoom Info, they're great. But it ended up being his wife's phone number. So I mean, there's SDRs that are like calling guys' wives, like still set meetings, but like really by
some of them just talk to the wife. Not even to set a meeting.
But by any means,
just like mom.
But by any means necessary, like getting the name out there, evangelizing a name, and like discovery. Like Seamus used the word discovery, like discovering pain over the phone, and just like the best SDRs I think are like the most like curious and the ones that know how to ask questions that uncover pain and lead to where your value is.
Yeah.
And that's like what a lot of what I talk to people about with like the interview process, especially like interviewing as an SDR. Like it's very good. Like they're like, what kind of questions should I ask? It's very easy to be like, what are the best qualities of the top performing SDRs? Like, what are like this, that? Like, there's a lot of common questions like that. But if you know like what you're gonna bring to an organization, or like what's gonna make you a good sales rep, coming to an interview is the same as like coming to a discovery call with a prospect. Is like ask questions that are gonna uncover where you fit in to company initiatives or like the hiring process. Yeah. And a discovery call is essentially just an intro call. So that's what an SDR is trying to set. Is they're trying to get the name out there, trying to like warm up leads, but eventually get people on a meeting, a discovery call, like an intro call. That's how a lot of reps are like commissioned and paid, is how many meetings they're setting, sometimes based on like pipeline they're pushing or like a part of. But a discovery call is ultimately the main goal of every SDR, setting up meetings with not only decision makers, but people that are kind of a part of that organization that could see value in your given company. What am I missing?
Cover the pain. You got to create urgency too.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes people don't recognize, they maybe understand there's a pain, but they don't recognize ramifications if they don't ease that pain, fill that gap, or if they take too long to address it. So that's kind of one of the trickier parts. And that's something I'm still kind of learning how to do. We're going through a whole discovery call promotion track right now. That's something I'm getting better at. We're working on doing. You got to create some urgency, deliver questions that make them feel the impact of if I don't address this, what can happen. That's kind of one thing that's it takes a lot of practice to go that level deeper. Once you're able to, that's how the best sellers find success. So I would say that too.
Who do you think is the best salesperson ever?
don't really pay attention to like the best salesperson. I've probably seen some people on TikTok that are, very effective. There's always the gurus on TikTok. Most of them I'm like, all right, this guy's probably saying the same thing everyone else is. There's probably
what are the gurus on TikTok saying?
I mean, they say all the things that like you and I probably learned.
Like Jordan, like Wolf of Wall Street isms, kind of like.
No, not even that. Just that stuff I think is kind of gimmicky. Like the sell me this pen thing. It's like, like it sounds cool, but I don't think it's practical at all. Like, oh yeah, well, you're not always trying to create a need for someone. Like, oh,
yeah,
like that's the whole Steve Jobs philosophy. Is like tell them what they need, then you'll get them to want it. That works sometimes.
Depending on what you're selling, yeah.
It definitely does. Yeah, it depends on what you're selling. It's not a one size fits all.
And the premise with the pen, I think, was like, do you have a pen? Or like was like, you write your name down. He's like, I don't have a pen. He sells him a pen. I think the premise there is like actually important. I think it actually is a good way to sell, especially if it's easy to be gimmicky. It's like, oh, well, you need this Tommy Hilfiger coat. Like you don't. But like when it comes to like certain technologies that people sell,
you got to put them in a position where they can say, okay, in that scenario, yes, I do need that.
Yeah.
So from that perspective,
so with the sell me the pen, it's like he put like here's like he uncovered the pain right away by saying like write your or the problem rather in this situation is write your name down. The guy's like, I don't have a pen, and then he tied in the solution with saying I sell pens. So like I think that's the premise, right? Which I think actually like at scale is a good way to sell certain things. But yeah, I'm more curious about though like
I think more the approach is asking them like, do you need a pen?
Right. Yeah. Like I want to go back to TikTok though.
Yeah.
Are these people selling courses? Are they like SDRs? Are they like because I've seen something really cool which is like sales closers. People that just will work for someone that's selling a course or someone that's like selling like a high ticket offer to like maybe like coach like a team or like do some type of consulting, and then they just hire a commission only sales rep. Say the offer's like $15K, and they pay them like 30% of everything they close. So I've seen that on Twitter. Yeah, it is pretty cool. So it's like so it's literally people that don't have any salary, nothing like that. They just get paid a commission on closing like a high ticket offer for. It's usually in the space of like influencers. So I was curious to see like if that's something you've seen on TikTok, but like what?
So
like,
they've got to be really good.
Yeah, but if you go deep on a TikTok funnel, right? Because ultimately these social media platforms and like profiles act as funnels for people to like market their whatever they're offering, right? So do you see anything like courses that are being sold?
I haven't seen that stuff. It's mostly like
just free game on TikTok.
Yeah, literally. Like every now and then I'll see, it's usually like some guy who is teaching a course, and it's like him at his office, and he's like giving some tip for a cold call. And it's not all. It's honestly a lot of it. I think is pretty solid. And obviously you read the comments, and there's gonna be every opinion you can imagine. Like people saying, I tried this, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Explaining why this would never work. Then there's people saying like, this is the best advice ever. This is like, so you never really know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of it is the same stuff that you and I probably learned onboarding for our SDR roles.
Sure.
The basic stuff, and the reason they teach you that stuff is because most of the time it does work pretty well. And then there's also the part where, okay, now you guys can go off and be creative and take different approaches, try new things, and figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
And then share it with your team and tell them, hey, I tried this today, this worked, give this a shot. And then you're just increasing the sample size of people trying new shit and seeing if it works.
Yeah.
So there's tons of different ways to do it.
What else is on your For You page on TikTok besides sales? Like what do you see?
Last night is all conspiracy theories.
Really?
Yeah. Like when it gets late at night, it just turns into that stuff that gets the gears turning a little too much before bed.
That would not be good for me. Get sucked into that.
No. But yeah, I mean,
are you on Twitter at all?
Yeah, but Twitter's mostly just jokes.
Yeah, I get that. Do you have to head out at 5:30?
mean, what else can we? I don't know.
Well, we could talk about copywriting a little bit more because we talked about it a little bit, and that's something I'm super interested in because that's something I've been doing more at Sprint Page, and we can talk about that next if we want to next week. But I think another really cool thing about the SDR position. Sorry, my hood's up. We're sitting outside right now, Minneapolis. I think it's like 1 degree, but. Really cool thing about copywriting in the sales development position, like the SDR position as a whole, like it just kind of naturally teaches you to be entrepreneurial, and like you're given a book of business, and depending on your role, it's either very cold, which means that nothing's been touched, that no deals have really been closed, or you're selling into customer accounts, which are called greenfield accounts. But no matter what, with the SDR position, you're learning how to essentially, like on a smaller scale, like grow a book of business or like a business kind of, again, at a smaller scale. But I think with copywriting, this is something you naturally learn as an SDR, writing emails, writing scripts, cold DMs, stuff like that. And then you kind of just like learn how to like provide value and show value through writing. And then, I think one cool thing I've seen a lot of SDRs do is like build their personal brand on like LinkedIn or on Twitter, or kind of through that like sell their company or sell what they're offering. And I think if you can get really good at that as an SDR, like portraying value through like words, and it really is kind of like an art. It's very cool to look into. You can like pay your rent every month by like offering to like write copy for like maybe a freelancer or like an agency owner that doesn't really know how to get their value proposition out there. They're trying to scale, and like as an SDR, what you become really good at is like pushing value out through word of mouth, or
basically you're a good communicator.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's like what copywriting is like you can communicate value through like 3 sentences.
Yep.
And like get people to be intrigued by like something that they read. So if you can get really good at copy, which I think is the most important part of like cold sales, is like beside cold calling, like if you're on email, like it's all about your email copy. You have like, I posted a LinkedIn like last week, it was kind of a joke, but like your prospect, if they even do read your email, they're gonna glance at it, and if it's a big bulky like Old Testament looking email, they're not gonna read it. But if it's like a very easily digestible, like 1 to 2 sentence per line, 3 to 4 lines max, like there's a lot that goes into like good copy. But I think that's something, if an SDR like wants to dip their toes into being entrepreneurial, I think a great way to start is like selling like the offer of like being a copywriter for a freelancer or an agency person, or like a VP of sales at a company that has no personal brand. Like that's like you charge them whatever $500, $1,000 a month, and you give them 3 to 4 posts a week on LinkedIn or on Twitter or whatever it is. That's a great way. Once you learn copywriting, you learn how to sell.
I have to get into that.
Yeah, I definitely
sounds like a high ROI.
Very, very high ROI. And I actually did buy a course on copywriting. It's all really about like making things simple.
Yeah.
Simple and better. Like that's what Jack and I talk about, my partner at Sprint Page. Like we just want to simplify things, make things sharper, and then make things better, because I mean, that's how you effectively sell through copy, through marketing. It's like you only have so much time, especially if you're a no-name brand. Like it's different if you're Target. You don't even, like Target doesn't even need to have their name associated. They put their symbol up and you're like, that's Target. Like if you look at a Target, if you look at a Target sign nowadays, it doesn't even say Target. It's just the red circle with the dot in it. Like that is, and that's through effective marketing and like amazing acquisition of customers. And but yeah, it all starts with effective copywriting, sales reps. But yeah, I think that's good for this episode. No one's gonna leave a comment, but like text us again and just like let us know like what you want us to talk about. I think as far as a knowledge base goes, we're pretty limited, but we're willing to do research because I enjoy talking to my friend Seamus, and we want to keep doing this. But I think we can
also, if you want to. If you feel like you have something to offer, a good perspective, better than we have,
Yeah, we'll be doing this.
then hop on.
Yeah, and we'll be doing this from Zoom in the future. I am home in Minnesota right now, so we wanted to do something, use my new camera. But
yeah, if you want to join one a 20-minute chat, just let us know, and
Yeah.
we'd love to get in some other perspective. Someone to maybe tell me what I'm saying makes no sense or
yeah.
whatever. So.
All right, cool. Thanks, Moss.